Hello everyone and welcome back to Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we'll be doing something very different because a lot of comments and replies have been around. It's all very interesting, premium ships and advanced firing techniques and things like that, but what about the beginners? What about the people who've just done a couple of games? And it's really just a little bit over their heads. So can we do something a little bit more for people who are not playing tier 10 ships and who are not concerned with situational awareness and all these things, but you're just learning the ropes? So that's why we're starting a new series today, and it's gonna be tips and tricks for tier 4. Why tier 4? So what we're looking at here is the Königsberg, the German tier 4 light cruiser, the Karlsruhe, the German tier 4 light cruiser. And why tier 4? Now, let's have a look at a tech tree tier that I haven't unlocked yet, just so we can see it. There's not many of those. So you get through tier 1 and 2 extremely quickly. You play a couple of games, you're done with it. Tier 3 takes about 2,500 XP to get to. Tier 4 takes about 7,500 XP to get to. So tier 3 and 4 are kind of like the first tiers where you'll be playing for a while with these ships. You're not just going to play 5 games and then move on to the next tier, because to get from tier 4 to tier 5, it usually takes about somewhere around 15,000 XP, and that's going to take you a little bit. So let's have a look at tier 4 ships, and we're going to go through all the tier 4 ships eventually in this series. This is just the first one, and today we're going to be playing the Karlsruhe. Karlsruhe, the German light cruiser tech tree is one of my favorites. It goes up to tier 6, and then after tier 7 it's into heavy cruisers. But today we'll be talking about the Karlsruhe. So light cruisers in general, what are light cruisers? What are the characteristics of light cruisers? They have very little armor, almost like destroyers. They have a bit more health than destroyers, but they do get citadel hits, which you don't get from destroyers. So they're extremely easy to be damaged by any large caliber shells like battleships. Or torpedoes. Well, that's true for all ships, but especially battleships, you really got to be careful. You don't want to show the side of your ship and let them just get their shots into you, because they will kill you very quickly. So if we look at the statistics, the Karlsruhe has 16,000 health, which isn't much. And she has a little bit of armor, but really not much in terms of armor. Just a little bit better than a destroyer. She is relatively fast, with 28 knots. And she turns quite quickly, with 5 seconds. 5 to 6 seconds for me is a good turn time for a cruiser. For a destroyer, it would be too slow. But that's kind of what I'm aiming towards. Now, the guns. She has 8 guns. They're 150mm guns, which means which means you can use the armor-piercing shells against other cruisers and against destroyers, but not against battleships, because they're too small a caliber to actually do any kind of reliable damage. That's where you would use the high explosive. Now, this is a German ship, so German cruisers or German ships in general tend to have very good armor-piercing shells. In this case, we're doing 560 armor-piercing damage, but she also has a relatively decent high explosive shell. And we look at the turret traverse speed of 10 degrees per second. That's pretty good as well. The reload time is very fast. If you look at that, 5.5 seconds, that is a very, very quick reload. So that sounds a bit too much. But if you look at where these 8 guns are positioned on the ship, they are, see if you see it here, they are in single turrets, or single gun turrets all around the ship. Right, you see a couple in front and a couple on the sides here. So given that the side guns basically have the ship in the middle, they can't shoot towards the other side. So you cannot always get all 8 guns to bear at a target at the same time. You can at maximum get 6 guns to shoot at a target at the same time. This is why they're not actually that overpowered, but they are very, very good guns. The light cruiser here also has torpedoes, just like a destroyer. They are 500mm torpedoes, so they don't do a huge amount of damage, but 2,800 is nothing to smirk on. She has 4 twin launchers. Now, Cruisers get their torpedo launchers on the side. Most destroyers get them center mounted, which means they can shoot all the torpedoes on each side of the ship. Depends on which way you orient them. Cruisers don't get that because, again, the torpedo launchers are on the side. Again, we can take a quick look at them. You can see them just under the lifeboats there. They're the torpedo launchers. And you can only get, well, 2 of them to shoot one side, and you have to turn the whole ship around to shoot at the other side. This is quite important, because when you turn a ship around, it gives the enemy an opportunity to shoot at you, which, again, you're in a light cruiser, being shot at is not something you're very, very good at taking. They don't have a great range of 4.5 kilometers, but they do have a very fast reload time of only 32 seconds. So keep that in mind. She has a little bit of anti-aircraft armament. You don't really need to have all that much at this tier because the carriers are not all that powerful quite yet. But there's a little bit. Some battleships don't even have anti-air at this time because at the time these ships were made, carriers were really not considered quite a threat yet. But they were more concerned with large surface vessels. So how have we set her up? One of my common cruiser setups in the slot 1. At this tier, I'm going with the main battery modification to have a better turret traverse speed. And that's because the game will always try to point the turrets at where you're pointing, well, you're targeting, wherever you're targeting. So when you need to flip to the other side, your turrets need to turn around because they've been pointing at the side you were just looking at. And the faster you can get your turrets to turn around, the faster you can get back to shooting at the enemy ships. There's also the main battery modification for reload, but she already has a 5.5 second reload, so she doesn't need that. And the other 2 slots are going into the steering gear modification. The reason for that is, again, the turn time. Because I have torpedoes on both sides, and I do not like getting shot at, I have to be careful not to show the broadside, so the side of my ship, to anything of the enemy who can hurt me quite a bit. So that's why I have a lot of investment in turn time. Now, I don't have a commander in this ship, just because I don't have enough German commanders around to put, but that's okay. We're at tier 4. Your commander would probably not have many skills at this point anyway, because you've either just unlocked one, or you don't have one yet if you just started, or you don't have much XP on them. But good commander skills in general are the underwater protection expert for less torpedo damage for low tiers, and the torpedo alert, especially to see enemy torpedoes earlier. So these are good skills to start with. And yeah, that's the light cruiser. Light cruisers are one of my favorite types of ship in the game, and I really enjoy playing her. So let's have a go and play a couple of games, and I'll just explain things as we go along. Just as a reminder, light cruisers in the German tech tree only go up to tier 6. Afterwards they switch to heavy cruisers, but if you decide to go down the German tech tree and you just want to take a look and get into mid-tier games and then maybe switch off to something else, there are very good ships in the German tech tree after this. There's the Königsberg at tier 5 and the Nürnberg at tier 6. There are excellent light cruisers in this game, so if that's something that you're enjoying and that you want to try out, then this is a good start. So let's get into a couple of games and we'll take a look and see what this looks like. So the first game we're playing, we have a carrier on the enemy team, we have a battleship, we have a bot battleship, you see that at the column in front of the name, and we've got a couple more battleships really, and only one cruiser. There are no destroyers, and there's only 2 cruisers on our side. So what we have to keep in mind here is to be careful, because like what I said, battleship have big guns, and big guns can hurt us very quickly. So what we're going to do on this map here, let me pause this for a minute. On this map here, you will be in range of the enemy almost immediately. So if you're in a cruiser, you're a priority target, because battleships know that if they shoot at you, they can do a lot of damage and take you out of the game very quickly. So it's very important to find yourself somewhere, well, to hide really, not to hide, but to kind of keep you safe from some of the enemy ships. And I'm going to use that island which is right in front of me. So I'm speeding up to full speed. I'm leaving the guns at high explosive because again we're shooting at battleships. So our armor piercing is probably just going to bounce off. High explosive is going to do less damage, but it will do damage, and it might set a fire, which is good as well, because that just does continuous damage, and we don't have to do anything about it. So I'm going to speed towards that island and try to use my torpedoes because they are my main weapon against battleships. But I have to get uncomfortably close, so we're going to need a bit of protection, and that's what this island is for. So there we go. And immediately we see the first battleship. It's a bot ship. And one thing you have to know about bot ships is that they don't damage control. So if you can set them on fire or flood, they will burn or, well, flood until the crew repairs it, which is very good. So I'm opening up, and you see immediately now I'm detected, because once you fire your guns, your detection range goes up. And now I'm switching onto my torpedoes. I want to make sure the bot ship isn't going to be shooting me in the side, so I'm turning towards it, just far enough that I get in torpedo range. And now I'm in torpedo range. You can see it on the white torpedo guidelines. Now firing the torpedoes a little bit ahead of the guidelines. I got really lucky here that I don't get shot in the side with these high armor-piercing shells. And there we go, 4 torpedo hits and a flood, and she's on fire. So she's doomed, and somebody else takes her out. Now, at this point, there are more battleships, and I really don't want the attention of all these ships. So I'm going to get some shots out at that South Carolina, but then I'm going to turn around. Because remember, light cruisers have torpedoes on both sides. So I'm firing another spread of torpedoes against that other battleship coming around the island. And I'm going to turn around again, because I don't want to keep sailing in that direction. There's a battleship there. It's probably pointing his guns at me. And they can do unpleasant things to cruisers. So there we go, another 4 torpedo hits, another flood. He repairs the flood, obviously. And now we got the attention of that South Carolina over there. And the carrier is dropping on us as well. You can see it on the minimap. There are planes coming in. And they set me on fire. So I'm damage controlling the fire. So I really don't have any health to spare. We're just keeping up the fire against the battleship. That battleship there is doomed. That battleship there is doomed, but the South Carolina in front of me is shooting at me. So let's pause it here again and just kind of look at the map. Alright, so we can take a breath. We've done good so far. We've got 2 torpedo spreads into enemy battleships, and our team has cleaned up the rest. And the enemy team is down 2 battleships, which we have, well, helped destroy. So this means that this side of the map is relatively safe. Let's have a look at who can shoot at us. Now, obviously, in the heat of, you got to get used to these kind of things, but in the heat of the battle, it always helps if you have a moment to breathe, to just take a quick peek at the minimap and see who can shoot at us. So the 2 battleships on the left there are completely out of position. There's one cruiser, but he's busy with being in the middle of 4 of our battleships. And there's the carrier and another enemy battleship, that South Carolina we're looking at. And they're in the enemy cap circle. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to point my ship towards them and just rush at them. Because if my ship is pointed towards them, it's much harder for them to actually hit me, because they don't have much to shoot at, and there's a good chance that they're actually misjudging my speed, and the shots go over the top. I can't get many guns to bear, but do resist the temptation to just turn around to get all your guns on to shoot, because you don't have the firepower to do enough damage to this battleship before they just sink you. Yeah, let's continue. So I'm going full speed. 29 knots, and I'm just shooting my forward gun turrets, shooting some high explosive shells at him. They hit the superstructure, and trying to get some fires going. But he's seen what just happened to his 2 comrades, and he's running. So you see these shots? One of them hit, and that hurt, but there were only one of them hit. If I was giving my broadside, probably all 4 would have hit, or he would have turned around as well and shot me with all of his guns. So the carrier's dropping me. It's doing some damage, so I use my repair kit just to get some heal going, because I have now 2 ships against me. That's the battleship, and you see all the shots are missing. Again, because I'm pointing my nose towards him. Now I want to get into torpedo range, and the carrier panics as well and runs into the battleship. So now, let's pause again. I want to get my torpedoes away against the battleship. Why? Because she's a much greater threat. This battleship can, with one or two good salvos, can sink me. So I need to get rid of her first before dealing with the carrier. The carrier can wait. She can do a lot of damage to me, but not as quickly as the battleship. So battleship is a priority target, which is why I'm selecting her for my torpedo spread, firing torpedoes, and again turning my nose towards her. It means I can only shoot 3 of my guns, but you see most of the shots, even at point blank range, are completely missing. And now she fired her shots, so it takes about 20 seconds for her to reload. So now I can turn around and give her my broadside, because she can only hit me with the secondaries. But I keep turning. I didn't stay pointed towards her, because now I've fired both my torpedoes from both sides. I've done enough damage, and I'm gonna get the hell out of here and try as much as possible to get some distance. And now the carrier gets a good hit on, probably 3 bomb hits onto me. So I'm going to turn a little bit in just to shoot my guns, and then I'm going to turn away again just to run as fast as I can, open up the distance, because that battleship's doomed. There are 2 of our battleships coming in, and I only have 3,900 health left. Now she fires at me again, gets probably 1 hit in, or two over penetrations, or a couple of over penetrations, and she's dead. Okay, we only have 1,800 health left, but at this point we've won the game. So there comes the carrier again and wants to get some revenge. The first set of planes drops but completely misses. He only needs to hit me once, and there we go. So the carrier sunk me, but I think that's all right at this point. There's only 1 carrier and 1 battleship left. Our ships have secured our capture area, the green one, and we still have 2 battleships in even close or even inside the enemy capture circle. So this game's done. There's no chance for them to win this still, and I think we can skip ahead, and I'm kind of happy with how this turned out. So in the end, we ended up doing 54,000 damage. We haven't sunk anything, but that's okay. Our team has cleaned up for us, and we have done enough damage to the enemy ships that our team was able to get a numerical advantage and win the game in the end, and that's what counts. So we did get the battle star, and we did get the nameless hero, because we did most damage in the game. We've done 16,000 damage with our main guns. Again, because we were shooting only at battleships, so we couldn't use our armor piercing, but we still did a good amount of damage to them. We did some fire damage, we did some flooding damage, and most of the damage we'd done with our torpedoes. So, if you're in a game like this with heaps of battleships, you really play more like a destroyer. But you have to be careful, because they can do damage to you very, very seriously, very quickly. So you have to keep your ship pointed towards them or away from them, and not show your side to them, because then things get ugly. Alright, let's have another game and take a quick look what else we can do with light cruisers. Okay, in this game we again have a carrier, we're again top tier, and we have only 2 battleships and some more cruisers around this time. So we'll see what we're gonna do here. We're playing on Scorching Islands, so again we're probably quite fast. So we're gonna rush ahead and head towards that little island just right in front of me, and make sure that we have some cover if we need it. I'm switching the guns to armor piercing, because I'm expecting there to be cruisers around, and especially if they're Japanese cruisers, who are very, very lightly armored, I can use my armor piercing guns to good effect. There come the dive bombers from the carrier, so I'm trying to kind of stay a little bit on the side and make sure they don't spot me, and head towards that little island up front, and we're gonna see where the enemy team goes. Because it could be that we just get half of the enemy team coming this way, or we could get the enemy team deciding to completely push around this flank, in which case we have to very, very quickly get out of there again. So we don't want to rush too far ahead. We're just going to position ourselves in front of this island there. And there is the Ishitsuchi. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. The Japanese Tier 3 battleship. And we're detected because the planes have found us. So we have to be careful here. So I'm just really slowing down, running into this island, I mean, she knows I'm here. So at this point we can just stop. She can't shoot at us because the island is in the way. Now I'm lining up for some torpedoes, but I have to be careful not to show her too much of my side. So where is she going? Is she coming around? It looks like she's coming around. Okay, she's in torpedo range, but I don't want to fire my torpedoes quite yet, because I would have to give show too much side of my ship, and I'm a little careful not to get hit. Now I'm firing armor piercing here, just to show you what's the effect, and you see I do a little bit of damage, but most of it is either half penetrations or bounces off. Now that I've got my nose pointed towards her, I can comfortably fire my torpedoes and see all her shots missed. And at this point I'm safe to turn around, because I know that she's reloading. And my first set of torpedoes is gonna hit. I switch over to high explosive. Okay, fire the second spread of torpedoes. She's slowing down, so she's probably gonna avoid some of these. By now she will have her guns reloaded soon, so I have to turn around again. Just keep turning around and make sure when she shoots at you, she doesn't have your side. There come the shots. And she's flooding, got no torpedo hits. Now I'm firing the torpedoes behind her because she's reversing. And now she's again on reload, so I can actually move on at this point. Switch back to armor piercing because there were some cruisers over there. And let the torpedoes finish the job, because at this point I don't think she can reload before she hits me. She's dead. Okay, there's a Tenryu. It's a Japanese cruiser. Japanese light cruiser. Very good torpedoes. So I have to be careful. She stops, but I'm totally outgunning her. My armor piercing shells are much more powerful than her guns. My guns reload a lot quicker. So I'm not even trying to get into torpedo range. I'm just comfortably here. I'm going backwards even. Comfortable here, firing torpedoes. Now I'm going backwards. And notice how she turns. The only reason she would turn like this and show me her broadside is because she got torpedoes away. So I'm speeding up again, because if the torpedoes were pointing along the line that I'm going, they're gonna go in behind me. Now, she realized I don't even try to torpedo her, I can just gun her down. There come the Tenryu's torpedoes, but since I moved forward, they can't actually hit me. Now, the St. Louis is a really heavily armored cruiser, tier 3. So you see most of my shells don't really penetrate that well, but I get some torpedoes away. I'm leading the torpedoes because I want to make sure that they hit when she accelerates out of the turn, but she's too fast to accelerate. My torpedoes actually pass behind her, I think. But that's okay, I've got another spread on the other side. Now her guns are dangerous, you see how much damage she's doing to me. So my second spread of torpedoes should be able to hit. And even at close range I can only get semi-penetrations with the armor piercing, but that's okay, because the torpedoes are doing the job really. And I've only got 1,800, 900 health, okay, but I still got her. Whew, that was close, she almost got me. These things are dangerous, even if they're tier below you. That leaves the Langley. Now at this point, we've killed 3 ships, and that's the last ship alive, so I'm not even bothering setting up for a torpedo run anymore, because she couldn't finish me off with her guns if she wanted to. I'm just kind of casually sailing along the side here, and let the rest of my team take some pot shots at her as well. Someone's got torpedoes out, probably gets the kill. There we go. Well done. Okay. So again, important to be aware that your ship is lightly armored. Cannot take much in terms of damage, but you can do a lot with your torpedoes. As you've seen, we've done 65,000 damage in a tier 4 game. We've done a lot of damage this time around with the guns, but we've also done a lot of damage with the torpedoes. And if you time your attacks on battleships correctly, they will have a hard time dealing with you. Just never point your sight to them, give them your side when they're ready to shoot. Okay, one more game I think, just to illustrate some more points. Okay, last game, and again we have 3 battleships, we have 3 cruisers and 1 destroyer at this time. Battleships are really popular around these days, and we're playing on Golden Channel, so it's going to be all about whoever controls the center capture area. Now, you have to resist actually just rushing into the center area and getting shot, especially if there are 3 battleships around and I'm in a light cruiser. I'm switching to armor piercing because the battleships are slow, So I'm expecting them to be showing up a little bit later. But my first encounter I'm expecting to be destroyers and cruisers. So you see I'm not actually going into the circle at this point because we have 2 destroyers on our side, and it's kind of their job to get into the capture circle and make something happen. But I'm kind of escorting this battleship here that's sailing to my right, and just make sure that if any enemy destroyers, and they're the enemy destroyers in the capture circle, you can tell because, well, it's getting captured, it's turning red, and well, the fastest ship is the destroyer. So she's either going to come out right between these 2 islands here, or on the other side. Depends on which way she's turning. She's not going to go all the way forward because then she's going to run into the other ships. So there comes the Phoenix, and there's the Mutsuki. So she came around exactly where I expected. Now I'm slowing down, and I'm getting a couple torpedoes away. Now the reason I'm slowing down is because I want to make sure that if she fires torpedoes, they're going to miss. Now I'm just going to speed up again. So if she fired torpedoes once she saw me, these torpedoes should go in behind me. Now she has to dodge torpedoes, but I'm not actually trying to kill her with the torpedoes. I'm just chasing her away and using my guns to make sure that her torpedoes didn't hit me, and I'm using my guns to see if I can kill her. Now she's not firing, which means which is very smart because it means that it goes out of detection and I can't catch her. Now at this point, let's have a quick pause and take a look at the minimap. So we see that there's 1 cruiser behind this island, but all the battleships are kind of following me around here, which means that the destroyers are alone in the capture circle and all the enemy ships seem to be on the other side. So we want to keep that capture circle under control. It's quite important. So there are enough ships here to deal with things. There's a destroyer. I mean, she's just sailed behind that island, but she's from very low health. And there's that cruiser, which is on full health, but battleships should be able to deal with that, because battleships are very good at shooting at cruisers. So I decide, screw it, I'll turn around, and I go back into the capture circle and help out there, because they look like they could use some of my help back there. So full speed ahead, turning around. And there's this Svetlana, which is a very good cruiser, but broadsiding a battleship is probably not going to go well for her. We've lost the destroyer, they've lost the cruiser, and look at the minimap, there comes the Mutsuki again. Okay, she's going to poke around here trying to get some torpedoes off, so I'm just casually dropping some torpedoes where I think she's going to come. And she doesn't see me because I'm not spotted. Now I'm spotted. Surprise! And I'm actually killing her with guns before the torpedoes reach her, but the torpedoes would have totally caught her. So that was way too obvious. Now, we'll switch to high explosive because there's an enemy battleship over there. It's a Kaiser. But she doesn't seem to be doing anything. Now, the player might have lost connection, or had something urgent to do. This kind of thing happens. It's always not so great when it happens to the enemy team because it feels kind of unfair. But there's also an Arkansas, and the Arkansas is a very good battleship. So I'm assuming that the Kaiser is AFK and is not actually going to shoot at me. I'm still keeping the angle in and making sure my nose is pointed towards the Arkansas though, because I don't want to get shot by either of them. And at this point I decide, no, the Kaiser is really not reacting. I think she's AFK, so I can just farm some damage against her while I'm lining up against the Arkansas. We have the capture circle under our control. The Svetlana back there is dead, so I'm shooting some torpedoes. And at this point the Kaiser should be dead, so I can just start focusing on the Arkansas over there. Just trying to get a little bit closer. She has a lot of other things to shoot at. It's not just me, so there's a good chance she's going to shoot at other things as well. Okay, we've got the AFK battleship, and she does shoot at the Clemson, which is the more dangerous destroyer. She is slowing down, so I spread my torpedoes a bit just in case she slows down even further. And look at where she's firing. Okay, she's focused on the other ships there. We're giving her a better angle. So yeah, giving the enemy someone else to shoot at is a very good thing. Now she stopped, so only one of my torpedoes hit. But at this point, I'm just turning the ship around, and now she noticed me. But at this point, I'm hoping that I can beat her reload and actually get the torpedoes right into her side. That's a bit cheeky because I didn't, and that hurt. But I did have enough health and the torpedoes going. Now, I didn't quite kill her, which means I really need to make sure that she dies now before she gets another reload in and kills me. Especially that there's a cruiser right in front of me. So I'm running away as fast as I can, giving her my rear to shoot at. Okay, there she goes, she's dead. Now, let's pause here. There's a Marblehead right in front of us. Now, the Marblehead is dead, and she knows it, because there are only 2 ships alive on the team, and she's on low health, and she's got 2 New York, almost full health New York class battleships shooting at her. But the Marblehead has torpedoes. Now, it really helps to just look at the tech tree and read what capabilities the other ships are having, so you know what you're facing and what you expect. So she's got torpedoes, so I'm at really close range, and I'm at low enough health that she can just kill me with torpedoes. So what I'm doing is I'm turning left to make her shoot her torpedoes, and then I'm going to turn hard right to make the torpedoes overshoot. So turning left, torpedoes, expecting now. Okay, hard right.
We hit the enemy.
And there come the Marblehead's torpedoes. But because I turned, I avoided all but one of them. And now it's just the New York left, so at this point I can just use my guns. I'm turning in a little bit, I get a fire, because I'm shooting high explosive. I'm turning in a little bit to see if she shoots at me, but she doesn't seem to be shooting at me. So I'm actually reversing, which is not something people often expect you to do. So you can surprise them a little when doing that. So I'm trying to set her on fire again, because this is what we mean when we're talking about permafires. She repaired the fire, so the damage control is on cooldown, which means like this fire now is going to burn forever. Oh no, not forever, but until the crew actually repairs it, which is going to be like 20 seconds or something. So it's going to do damage for all this time. And I just keep firing and see if I can get another fire going, but I think we'll be running out of time before that happens. I'm just farming damage on her at this point. And we've won comfortably. We've only lost 2 destroyers. Oh, and she actually got killed still. Okay, and the game is over. So, again, what were the important things? Seeing a destroyer in the enemy team, and you're in a cruiser, and there are a lot of battleships around, it's kind of your job. It's your job to go and make sure that the destroyer, doesn't get any good shots off. Once that job is done, you can then take a look at the minimap and just make sure that you're in the right spot. So, for example, on this map, it's important that we control the capture area. So I decided to go back there and help out. The enemy team got really unlucky because they had an AFK player, so they were 1 battleship down. But these things happen. They can happen on your team, they can happen on the enemy team. But then from there on, it's just targets of opportunity. Try not to get you can maybe not get singled out, and stick with your team, and because it gives the enemy somebody else to shoot at besides you, and these kind of things. So that's in a nutshell light cruiser play for me. It's a lot like destroyers. I'm using my torpedoes a lot just because there were a lot of battleships to shoot at. We've done a lot of damage with the torpedoes, but we've also been able to do a lot of damage with the guns. Excuse me. So yeah, I really like this ship, and I think she's a great tier 4 ship. And I really enjoy light cruisers, so that's why. So next time we'll be talking about another tier ship, and we'll be going through all the tier 4 ships in the game eventually. As long as I have actually unlocked them, and I hope this gives you something a little bit for when you're just starting the game and are not so familiar with how to play these ships quite yet. Maybe it gives you a bit of an impression how you can play at these lower tiers. You don't have to worry about the too advanced tactics quite yet, but if you know things like not giving your broadside to enemy ships or to enemy battleships in a light cruiser, if you know how to dodge torpedoes, or get an idea when torpedoes are coming or might be coming, you change your speed, you change your direction, you use high explosive against battleships and armor piercing against cruisers and destroyers, you use your torpedoes wisely, like these kind of things, you can have amazing games in tier 4 without knowing too much about the stuff. In the end, it's really just about the fun, right? The reason I'm doing this is I want you to have fun, And you will find players like me in Tier 4 occasionally. I mean, I'm not usually doing this. I just did this for this video now. But you will find a very experienced player in lower tiers, sometimes in premium ships. And I don't want the game to be too hard for someone who just started and gets very frustrated very quickly because they don't really know what to do next. So that's kind of why I'm doing this. So please let me know if this works for you, or if this was too simplified, if it was too advanced, if there are other things that you're struggling with in the game. Please let me know. This is the series where, for the new players, where I'm trying to, make sense of all these things for you. So that's it for today, and I'll see you all next week. And just a little hint, we're probably going to reach the end of the road next week. Now, doesn't mean I'm going to stop making videos, but you might know what I mean. Alright, see you all. Bye bye.